Okay, well, I think we will get started. My colleagues Joy Knuckles and Danielle Bryant are with me, and I'm Beverly Campbell. We're all here in the Office of Engagement, and I think we know all of you. So thanks for joining us for our Club Leader 101. I know most of you already have this information down, but thanks for joining us just for a little refresher. I think since we're a small group, we can be really casual about this today. So if you have questions as we move through, feel free just to turn your camera on and ask those questions. I don't think that will be disruptive. So, all right, I think we will get started. Joy, do you want to move forward to the first slide here? We're going to touch just a tiny bit on events before we move into the communication piece. All of you play such a vital role in the programming within the Office of Engagement. As you know, the UVA Clubs program is the largest alumni piece out of the Office of Engagement. And you focus throughout the year on several areas: signature programming, which are student send-off events, admitted student receptions. You also host holiday parties, and many of you work with Welcome to the City, which is now called Who's Here. So those are some of our signature programming. Events and programming from clubs, those range from community service to faculty or alumni speakers. We've been really creative over the last 18 months coming up with new things. So social events, game watching events, things that support athletic opportunities. We also have partnership events. And for those are when we have opportunities for clubs to work together. So maybe one of you have a faculty speaker, especially in this virtual world, where you're also able to connect and invite some other clubs as well. So those are partnership opportunities. Then we have our high-level athletic events. And some of you, I know Kendra is on here from Richmond. She's very familiar with a lot of our, what I'm calling high-level athletic events. So those are things like bowl games, basketball championships, and those pieces where once we get into the cities where those tournaments, championships, or bowls are, where we work closely with our clubs to help us recruit volunteers, get venue recommendations, and things like that. Next slide, Joy. Great. So as you're looking at your programming and your events, we are still in this very foggy area of event planning these days. Where when spring came last spring, we thought things were looking much better. And then we got to July and we're all, oh no, things are going south again. So we're discovering that people just have different levels of comfort with attending events, whether they'll go out at all, whether they'll be in indoor spaces or crowds. So those are all things that we're dealing with as staff and you as club leaders and volunteers. But a few things that we have learned over the last 18 months are people still want to be connected with the university and each other. So they still want to be engaged. We've also learned that we can be creative. If you think back to March 2020, when we were all scrambling, and then you reflect on what kind of programming all of you have come up with, it's actually quite remarkable. So lots of creative people out there, and we've figured out lots of great ways to connect with our alumni, families, and friends. We've been able to engage new constituents. So we don't have clubs in all of the major cities around, but they've been able to join other club events. So we've reached out to constituents that we haven't been able to engage before, either because they don't have a club or it just hasn't worked out with their schedule to go to things. So that's been a big bonus. As I mentioned before, we've been able to share some events and programs as well because of the virtual. We've been able to make better use of faculty and alumni speakers. For faculty, it's just so much easier for them to hop on and give a Zoom presentation versus taking 3 days away from teaching classes with a flight and a day for the event and then travel back. So that's been really beneficial as well. Now I think we're all tasked with finding a good balance for our programming and events. We want to get back to in-person, but we also know that virtual events work. So we're trying to figure out what is that balance where we can keep giving people the opportunity to engage virtually, but still somewhat returning to what we had before pre-COVID. So I think that leaves us all in a space where we're starting to look at those aspects and to think about hybrid programming. I think one of the clubs in California in the last couple of weeks, they tried a hybrid book club. So I think as you're thinking about hybrid programming, if you have successes or even things that you think maybe weren't successful, share them with your REOs, because we're all still beginning to dabble in hybrid opportunities. But hybrid, for instance, a hybrid book club, if you have a mom that can't come out to your book club because it starts at 7:30 and the kids go to bed at 7, she can still log in to a virtual book club that's hybrid. So you may be in person, but you're able to put up a phone camera or something to still engage people. So that's an opportunity for hybrid. And then, of course, always keep safety at the top of your mind as we're navigating these next few months, potentially year, we don't know. So keep safety top of mind as you're looking at in-person events. I have a few examples of photos on this slide. Tidewater did the horseback riding, which was creative. I can't recall that a club has done that before, but it sounds like it was really successful. Fall's a perfect time to do something like that. We've had several clubs that have worked with vineyards to have tastings and give a talk. We've had lots of cooking classes. And then also beach cleanup is something, it's an outdoor activity. It falls under CAV's care. People are able to socially distance. So just keep the safety piece at the top of your mind. If you are looking at in-person events, as long as the weather is cooperating, look for an outdoor space or plan an activity like the horseback riding or beach cleanup where people do feel pretty safe. And then, of course, as you are planning all of these great things, and the reason for this session is let us know that you're planning them so that we can help you. We have lots of great ways to support you through marketing and communications and social media too. So those are my thoughts for events as we move into this session, and I'm going to pass it over to Joy and Daniil at this point, and they're going to go into the details about once you have these great events planned, what you do moving forward after that.
All right, thank you, Bev. I will take Daniil Bryant, Assistant Director of Communications with the UVA Clubs team. And I'll take you through the communications process. I know it's a lot of boxes right now, but I'll try my best to take you through this. So first, obviously, we're going to plan the event. As Beverly went through earlier, we like to have all your events details finalized, thinking about different things like, does your space have an outdoor area as an alternative and different things like that. And before I go any further, I will say that the rectangles with the blue border are things that you guys complete on your end, and things that aren't bordered are things that happen on our side of things. So, with that planning event being said, then you're going to go ahead and submit your communications form with all those event details. And then next, we're going to take that information based on the communications form and make a registration page out of that through Eventbrite, which Joy will touch on later. We're going to go through Eventbrite for you. And this blue area, this blue arrow to the right that's going towards, it shows on our calendar and website. This is something that happens on the back end. You guys probably have seen it at the bottom of your registration pages. There's a sentence that says, this event is #open to all alumni, friends, and families. That's simply there so that that event feeds into our calendar and our website automatically. And then another manual step after that registration page is created, we add that email to our communications calendar. As you probably know, we deal with a lot of clubs, so we actually have to map out when we're going to send out each email for different areas. After we put that on our communications calendar, our next step is we're going to create that email and preview it out to the proper approver. Most clubs has a specific person that it's sent to who works as that, I guess, marketing chair or anything of that title to approve our emails. And that's why that box down there is in the bottom left corner is bordered with blue. You're going to edit that email that we send out. Me and Joy, we're human. We make mistakes. There might be some misspellings, and also we deal with a lot of these emails on a daily basis. So they kind of jumble together after a while, but it's good to have another set of eyes to help edit those emails before they go out. And then obviously after that's approved, we send the email. And if that email requires a reminder, we're gonna repeat the step from creating the email to getting it approved and then send it out again. So that's sort of an overview of the process. If we could go to the next slide. All right, who receives our emails? So all contactable alumni, friends and families, and active constituents receive our emails. We don't send it to current students. And then obviously whoever is unsubscribed from our emails in the past, they won't be seeing our emails. And then some other important reasons why people may not see our emails. It gets caught in spam sometimes, and sometimes that's on us with subject lines. We hope that when you submit your communication form in your details, you try to stray away from using too many characters, special characters, all caps, or promotional language or of that sort, so it doesn't get deemed as spam. And then another reason, which is very common, is the constituent may not have updated their contact information. We have a lot of alumni who travel, and we can't keep track of them because they don't update their information, or if they just don't use that certain email address anymore, they're wondering why they don't get emails. So make sure that's always updated. And then lastly, again, if you unsubscribe from our emails, and recently we're finding ways that specifically iPhones make it a little bit easier to unsubscribe from emails. So if you believe that you're not receiving our emails, you can reach out to us and we can find out if you're still on our list and get that corrected. So Joy, can we go to the next slide? All right. Something very important, how do we increase our open rates for our emails? I talked about the subject line just now in the last slide. Also, we want that subject line to be interesting, short, a call to action, because if you think about it, anyone who's looking at their inbox, it's a bunch of subject lines they're going to see, and we want ours to stand out. So just think creatively about the subject line, and then we'll also look on our end just to make sure it's not really going to get caught in spam with the type of language used, and we can move forward with that. And again, it's content detective. Try to stay away from promotional language or special characters. So. All right, and what else do we think about? These are very important points before we send our emails that we think about. And the most important is think about UVA's communications as a whole. They send out about 45 million emails a year. That's crazy. Most of those aren't UVA clubs, and we're glad that most of them are. But we take that in consideration when we're trying to schedule our emails. We don't want to bombard inboxes with all UVA emails. And we also take into consideration your local ecosystem. And we use data in the past for past events to kind of map what's engaging in your area, what different constituents like to do. And again, we base this off of data in the past and how successful different events were. And from word of mouth, from you guys telling us like what's successful in your area and how can we do our best to promote that, target that area. And that brings us to the next part of the next bullet point is how many times have we emailed your constituents? Sorry, it's a tough word to say. So the first bullet point I said about UVA communications, that's why we got to make sure we're really thinking about how many times we've emailed your constituents. If there's events that are within a week or so, or we think about the time periods between the events. If we can consolidate that into just one event digest, then we'll do that, just so it just kind of slows down that email traffic. And then next, how can we better target your email to fit the audience? I can best describe this by an example. You wouldn't send a young alumni happy hour event to all alumni aged 40 and up. It's just not really the targeted audience you're looking for that specific event. So we look into different ways and different audiences that we can send and target our emails to best get a good turnout. And then lastly, last but not least, is when we send our emails, basically the time of day and the day of week. There's not really a set rule. There's a kind of soft rule when not to send it. So we don't try to send it on Fridays, Friday afternoons and evenings, mostly because that's when most people are kind of sneaking out of the office. They're not really looking at their email as much as, say, a Monday morning. So we try to send them throughout the weekdays, and then mostly around lunchtime has gotten good results. And yeah, just trying to avoid Fridays mostly. We can go to that next slide. All right, and how else can we promote your event to your constituents? We have the Pearl list. You have your Pearl list, and this is the previous event registrant list. So basically everyone in your area who has attended an event in the past, you'll have their email to send it out again if you're going forward. And then obviously you have social media. Facebook is a good avenue, Twitter. And then personal emails, it's 2021. You can also text message, but if you like to send emails, that's fine too. Word of mouth is also good. As I explained earlier, if you go to an event and you have a positive experience, we want you to tell your friends about it, tell other alumni, so we can promote other events in that area of that same nature. So next slide, please. All right, this is a big question that we get. Why do we ask for your event request form as soon as you have your event scheduled? So you have to realize that we are creating emails for multiple areas, multiple clubs. There's roughly 109 different clubs that we're providing emails for. And then secondly, if they're virtual events in particular, we need to schedule ahead if we need a proper Zoom license. As you all probably know, now we have Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. So we want to make sure that we have that Zoom webinar license. If you do want that kind of Zoom webinar speaker events mostly are used for Zoom webinars. And then if you want a more interactive event, we can accommodate that with the Zoom meeting. And also it just gives your constituents time to plan and register. You want to give your audience time to see if it works for their schedule, and even for them to tell friends if they want to come as well. So we just want to give our audience time to register. And then as I explained earlier in the last two slides, we don't want to compete with other UVA emails, obviously. And then lastly, it just gives us time to make edits as needed. No one likes to be rushed especially when you're going through the editing process and you wanted to go out to your constituents. Correct information is very important. And I would say correct information is much better than speed and trying to get something out as quick as you can, as we've learned. So yeah, time is a big part of why we want our event request forms in. Next slide, please. All right, something that's newer in this new climate is sending Zoom links. With virtual programming now, we have a bunch of virtual program, we have a bunch of Zoom links that get sent out. So we normally send 2 on the day of the event, and one in the middle of the day, and then the other 30 minutes before, sometimes the first one in the morning, depending on the time of the event. And then also it's sent to all registrants. And the main reason we send the last one 30 minutes before is because we have late registrants that may register and not get that confirmation email with the link. So we like to send those reminders so everyone can find their link. And then we also ask that you do not publicize Zoom links outside of lists of registrants. We don't want to have a problem where we have Zoom bombing. We just want people who actually registered for the event to attend. So, and I think that is my last slide, and I'll hand it over to Joy and she can talk about data and Eventbrite stuff.
Thank you, Danielle. Before I talk a little bit about data and Eventbrite, does anybody have any questions about the process, event request forms, email, Zoom links, any of the technical details? Lovely, Danielle, you explained it so well.
I must have did a good job, I was going to say.
All right, so I'm just going to give a little bit of a reminder about data, what we can share and why. So UVA is we're very focused on security, privacy, data security. We do ensure that you have a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA on file before we share information. I will put a link in the chat after my presentation to the NDA in case you haven't signed it yet this year. We do have you sign those on an annual basis. So all constituents, as Danielle was mentioning, we can email all contactable constituents in your area. We cannot share that information with you. Those people, we do not consider them opted in to share that information with you all as club leaders. What we can share is the Pearl, and that's your previous event registrants. Those are people that have opted in to be contacted again. And that is information that we can share with you as a club leader once you've signed your NDA. We do ask that when you receive a Pearl, that you do not take those email addresses and add them to your own personal social media or your own personal side business. This is proprietary information to the university, and we do need to be responsible stewards of that data. In the student list, we have been able to in the past share list of matriculated students. Those are students that have accepted their offer to attend the university. We do have to have a specific business purpose to share those lists with you. And we will do that via a secure box link, again, to keep the student information and privacy top of mind. So if you're interested in student lists, please check with your REO and they will get in contact with us to provide that for you. Oops. All right, event attendees. This is a question that we get all the time. Why do we want to know who has actually attended your event? So one of the reasons is that it obviously gives you an updated Pearl. People that are new to your area or that have attended an event for the first time, you want to make sure that they get added so that they can get invited to the next event. It also helps us with invitations to events on specific topics. As Danielle noted, in this virtual world, we're now able to invite anybody to any event because it doesn't matter where they're located geographically. So that's allowed us to expand our invitation lists for some of these broader virtual events. We can now invite based on school or based on topic or based on people that have come out to previous events. So if we know who they are, we can invite them. If we don't know who they are, of course, we can't invite them. We do report up to UVA's senior leadership, including the president's office. The Office of Engagement by far does the majority of alumni, parent, and friend programming at the university, and our numbers always look really good, and we want to continue to look really good. It also gives us a better idea of who we're reaching with our communications. If we don't have people register or attend your events, we don't know if we're reaching the right audience. And hand in hand, it also helps you plan better, more engaging events. If you know who are attending your events, you know what they're interested in, you know what to plan so that they'll come back out for your next event. You can see on the slide, I've got a little, oh, thank you, Danielle, for putting the NDA in the chat. You can see I've got a little graph up here for the previous 3 fiscal years of our events and experience numbers, our unique constituent numbers, our Eventbrite registration numbers, and also, of course, how many virtual events we did. If you haven't heard, we did over 550 virtual events last fiscal year, which is just quite incredible. So thank you to all for planning some great virtual events. And we were able to reach almost 59,000 people registered, which is just, as you can tell, a huge number compared to the previous 2 fiscal years. And we've really been able to expand our reach, expand our audience, and hopefully keep them re-engaged year over year. So we've had a really good virtual year, which I think surprised everybody. All right. Eventbrite. I'm just going to give a reminder of Eventbrite features that help make your lives and our lives better too. As you know, you have a unique login to the backend of Eventbrite for your club. This gives you a quick snapshot of your event in real time. You can access this information 24/7. You're not waiting on us to provide a number or provide a sign-in sheet to you. There is an easy way to produce a PDF sign-in sheet via the backend of Eventbrite on the browser version. You can also do a quick and easy check-in at events using the Eventbrite Organizer app, which I highly recommend, especially now. Unfortunately, we may have to do contact tracing for your event if it's an in-person event. So we do need to know who is at your event. You'll please check them in. We may have to contact them if the worst happens and somebody is sick at your event. So I think the next slide is Eventbrite Demos. So I'm going to stop sharing. Does anybody have any questions while I get the Eventbrite demo set up? Hello, Michael Getz, I see you snuck in there.
Hello, I did.
No sneaking in this group. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a back-end Eventbrite demo of the browser version, and then I'll do a back-end demo of the Eventbrite app. So hold on just one moment. Oh, Chris has got a great question. Okay. At the student send-off in Denver, several parents asked if UVA could create and distribute a contact list of other local UVA parents. I presume such a list would only include parents who opted in. So I would suggest that we not get in the business of creating distribution list of students and parents, especially of students. I think the best answer to that is to point them to the Facebook pages for parents. I think there's a version for parents and for new incoming students, and then they can opt in and connect with each other that way. And yes, I think if we were to create a list, Chris, I think we would have to include parents that opted in, which is why we don't really want to get in the business of doing that. So what you're looking at is the back end of Eventbrite. I've logged in as the UVA Club of Washington, DC. One thing, if you've not logged into the back end of Eventbrite via the browser, you'll note that it looks like before you log in, the screen after you log in looks exactly the same, which I think is a little bit confusing. The best way to find out if you're logged in as your club is up here. It just tells you the club name. And then when you do the little drop down, it says manage my events. When you click on manage my events, you get the list of your, it defaults to published. It's the events that are coming up for the UVA Club of Washington, DC. You can also go back and look at your past events by changing the drop down to past. Again, if you want to compare numbers for an event that you did previously, or if you want to email people that came out to your previous events, here's how you would find your past events. I recommend if you're going to look at an event that you right click on it and open a new tab so that you don't have to keep going back and forth in your browser. That's a personal preference of mine. So let's go look at so this is a paid event for Washington, DC, and I just wanted to show you, remind you what the front end looks like and give you a couple little Eventbrite quirks for you to remember when you're filling out your event request form. The first thing is the event title, which is this part that's up here on the right. That we are limited to 75 characters, and we do include your club name as part of those 75 characters. So Justin Paxton from UVA Entertainment Club of Los Angeles doesn't have a lot of extra characters to play with once we type that whole thing out. This part down here, which they call the details, is 140 characters. So oftentimes you'll see us use very short event title up here because we don't have much room, put more details down here in the details section. Then we have your event description, we have your date, your time, location. If this is a paid event, you'll see the amounts up here that was charged, and then the description. The image up at the top, Eventbrite really prefers horizontal images. And this gets us into trouble when we're doing, for instance, headshots. So oftentimes we'll have to go back and forth on images that are vertical to either try to get them to fit, or we'll try to find a horizontal image. The good news is in the event description, we can put images, and those can be horizontal or vertical. And the other good news is the event description, I have not yet run out of characters. So you can put as much information in the event description as you'd like, but just remember that these two sections will have to be pretty short. All right, so the back end of the paid event, we'll look at that one first. You will see a couple of features that I think are a little bit confusing. It'll say how many tickets sold or how many registrations. It says tickets sold even if it's a free event. So don't get confused by that nomenclature. It's just the way that Eventbrite's set up. You also see how much money that you've brought in or how many ticket sales you've made. And then you'll also see the net sales up here. Eventbrite does withhold fees. So the money that you see come into your bank account will be the net sales amount, usually about 5 to 7 days after your event. And then the next month we go in and do a reconciliation process to reimburse you those fees. And those usually go in about the 15th to the 17th of the next following month. So you will see two amounts in your bank account, but it will end up totaling your gross sales. The other thing I wanted to show you on this particular event was that there was 4 different ticket types. So the nice part about Eventbrite is you can see each ticket type broken down by how many of each one were purchased or how many registrations were made, and also when the sales end. Now the status is hidden, of course, because this event is over. So this is just a really good way to, if you're concerned about numbers, to keep track of how many different ticket types that you have sold. The other thing on this dashboard that I really like is called the attendee summary. This is a really great, quick and easy report that you can run. What it shows you is each person who is registered line by line. It also shows you all the questions that they answered when they registered. The easiest way I found to do it is just to click that Excel button and it downloads a report. So for instance, if you were doing an event where you had to give information to a vendor, a winery event, or an artistic event where you're shipping something to a registrant, this is the report you would want to use because it would show you all the information that somebody filled out when they registered, including their address, which you'll need for shipping, and any other information that you collected from them. I want to show you the back end of a free event because it looks very similar. You just see up here that it says tickets sold. Again, this is a free event. It just means registrations. Don't like it, but they didn't ask my opinion. And then this one just had one ticket type. So then again, there's your registration and your cap number. So I think that's everything I wanted to share on the browser side of Eventbrite. Does anybody have any questions while I'm still sharing? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share one more time and show you the back end of the Eventbrite app, which I hope everybody will download and use because it's so easy and it's actually kind of fun. Joanna is asking if we can import a list of volunteers into Eventbrite, I'm guessing, Joanna? So yes, sometimes I've been at events where the nonprofit we work with has the list. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think that you can import a list of volunteers into Eventbrite. I would not recommend it only because I don't know how Eventbrite treats that data. So if they register through us and through our login, it's proprietary. But Eventbrite is contracted not to sell information that gets when people register on our end. I don't know how it would work if we imported that, if that would still be covered under the contract or not. I can find out and let you know though. That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. So what I'm doing is something really fancy pants that is new, I think, to Zoom, and I kind of love it so much. So I'm going to talk about it for a minute. It actually will let me pair my iPhone to the Zoom. And so I'm going to actually show you the Eventbrite app in real time, which I think is just very clever of it. So the Eventbrite Organizer is the little black rectangle with the green, oh, that's not green, with the orange E. You want to make sure that you're doing Eventbrite Organizer, which is different than the Eventbrite app. So we're going to log in. I am in New York's account. I'm going to pretend that I'm checking people in for one of their events. So you've got your dashboard. Again, it shows you how many tickets you've sold. It's broken down by ticket type. It also will show you, if you're checking people in via the app, how many people you've checked in real time. I tell you what, we use this thing for our big athletic events, and it's super helpful to see how many people we've checked in as we're checking them in. Then when you're getting ready to check people in, you just click on at the very bottom, the little check-in icon. They're arranged alphabetically by last name. Just go down, find the person you want to check in. Swipe right, checks them in. It's brilliant. If you make a mistake, you check the wrong person in, or you didn't mean to do it, you just uncheck them. Super easy, super convenient. Cannot recommend this enough. Please do it, especially now. We did have to do some contact tracing over the summer. So just can't highlight enough how important it is to actually know who's at your event right now. All right, well, that is all that I have. Anybody have any questions? Joanna, I'll get back to you on importing volunteers.
Joe, I had a question about login. We provide them with the login for their club, correct? I think Lori
That's
had a
correct.
question about that. Okay.
I can't find mine.
Yeah, Lori, we can send it to you.
Okay, great.
Yes, we do keep the logins because it is part of the university account. So we do need to know if somebody goes rogue that we can turn off access if needed. Not that you
I've
would do
used
that.
Organizer a lot, but I haven't really used the Eventbrite app.
Love the app. Lori, let me make a note of that for you.
Thanks.
So those of you that have done this for a while, Melvina, John, Lori, Overholt, is there anything that we're missing from, because our perspective is we do this every day. What are we missing? What's helpful for you to know that we haven't covered?
I guess this is Melvina. I'll go first. I don't think you're missing much. Again, like Danielle and Joy, I always kind of sing your praises because I know that we're kind of possibly like getting you guys at the last minute on some of our events, and we're just really grateful for everything that you guys do. You've helped us with the password before to get into our organizer side of everything, and that's been fantastic. We've been able to send vendors list of like when we've sold tickets for kits or crafting items, like we've been able to send the vendors their names so that those constituents can go and pick up their items at the business and then meet back onto the Zoom. So I think it's been fantastic. I think the entire kind of setup that you guys have has made it easy for us to like connect with individuals and to really kind of operate at a level of excellence so that we can kind of, connect everyone and give them a really great product and program. So thank you for everything that you guys do.
Well, thank you, Melvina. That's really good to hear. Sometimes I feel like we operate in a little bit of a vacuum of like we give you the stuff and then we never hear back on how it goes. So I'm glad to hear that that's working for you.
Well, just in general, I want to say the whole process is fantastic. When I first took over as president years ago, the only way we promoted an event was I inherited a Gmail account with about 700 emails in it, and I would send out batch emails. Oh, sorry. Batch emails that I had to send out like 300 at a time. So I had to write up the email and blind copy everybody and send out these batch emails and figure out when to send them out, how to send them out. And I did that for years. So I'm so thrilled to be able to fill out a form and watch this stuff come in and send my comments and then go on Eventbrite, watch my numbers go up and see who signed up and what time they signed up. So it's fantastic. And I'm only scratching the surface of the data that's there, but just the process is wonderful.
Good. I'm so glad. And I was a little bit amused. Your dog in the back agrees with you that batch emails and BCCing is just not the way to go. Oh my. How cute. All right, well, are there any other questions or comments or thoughts? Otherwise, we're done.
Thank you all so much. This is great.
Yes,
And I also want to
sing.
sing Joy and Danielle's praises because, man, it's a lot to manage. And this is a lot of communications, a lot of tracking, a lot of data. And they are pros. So. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Michael, is there any events that we should be pitching for the rest of the day or anything tomorrow?
Well, we have our club leader roundtables at 5:30, and that is going to be more casual but conversational idea exchange sort of thing. So do consider those. And then tomorrow, another great day. All the sessions looking good. Definitely, we've got some folks on, a couple panelists of the noontime keynote are on this particular meeting, so don't miss their great observations. And that's the Club Leader Motivations and Inspirations. I think highlight your who's tomorrow at 4 is going to be really interesting too, talking about involving alumni and family and friends in programming. And of course, we've got a celebration tomorrow night with the one and only Cindy Frederick, who is her own like pep rally. And that should be really fun too. So, and also a couple other folks on the call on this meeting have been in panelists on other things even today. John and Lori, that was awesome. The session with Josh, that was a great job. And Lori Overhold, you're on tomorrow with Highlight Your Who's, is that right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I saw these great voices.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us today for our overview and reminder of our processes. Thank you for participating in the processes by getting the forms in on time and approving everything and being so gracious with your time as well. Everybody have a lovely day, and we'll see you at another session soon.